There has been trade along the Savannah River as long as there have been people along the Savannah River. In this region in the southeast, all waters flow this way towards Savannah. The indigenous people and native tribes who called this region home knew that. They took advantage of it to gather here and trade. That has never stopped. By 1700, Savannah had emerged as a capital of commerce and culture. Today, the Port of Savannah is the third busiest in the United States. All around us, televisions, furniture, plastic goods, the toys you'll have your kids for Christmas, and food and farm exports, tons and tons and tons of it, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. Susan Garner, Director of Operations and Projects at Port of Savannah. That sounds like a pretty big job because this is a pretty big port.
It is a big port, but we have a lot of people working here, so I don't do anything by myself.
It's like an anthill here, the action that's coming and going. We see the cranes moving back and forth, trucks constantly in and out.
Yeah, Savannah ranks as the third busiest port complex in the United States.
Third busiest, I would think probably LA, New York would be first.
It's the single biggest single operator terminal in the United States.
This must take a workforce of hundreds, thousands.
We have over 1,770 employees as of right now.
1,770. These giant units are stacking and unstacking them. They sound like a really crazy cuckoo clock.
Right behind us are all the perishable goods.
So these are all refrigerated containers. They call them reefer containers.
Yeah.
Everything in here is something edible, perishable to some degree that's got to stay under refrigeration.
We have over 3,300 power plugs for these kinds of
3,300 plugs. That's quite a power bill every month.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, wouldn't want to pay that one now.
Right.
Right across from us here, this is non-refrigerated cargo.
That's correct.
That could be anything from boxes of televisions to furniture to toys.
Yeah, it could be someone's household goods. It could be the elf on the shelf. We don't know all the contents, but we know if they're hazardous and they need to be segregated. We do know that. But the rest of it, we segregate them based on where they're going and not necessarily the commodity.
Is there any way to count the number of these containers that come on and off this port in a given day, or is that only measurable in volume?
Oh no, we have a daily report that shows the volume of containers on terminal, the volumes of containers coming in. We're able to see as soon as they sail what's on the water coming to Savannah.
Right.
So we have a good idea of, 3 or 4 weeks from now, we're gonna have a slew of volume coming in and we can prepare for that.
I'm sure there is a room full of people here somewhere that are doing nothing but getting out their slide rules and calculators and figuring out where we're going to put everything. I know it's a little more complex.
We've moved beyond slide rules,
complex than that,
we have a very robust terminal operating system that helps us have visibility to what's coming and what needs to go and what we can plan for.
When we're talking about agricultural products, food products, perishable products, what percentage of the volume at Port of Savannah does that represent?
We export a lot of poultry, beef, and pork. We import a lot of onions and avocados and grapes. Right now, it's a grape and onion season right now. So this is when our reefer volume is at its highest. The reefer volume varies based on the seasons.
Sure.
So right now, as I mentioned, we have the onions coming in from South America, and then we'll have poultry going out and blueberries going out. So it depends on the farming season. It's a key part, and even some of the warehouses that have been built off terminal are cold storage warehouses specifically to support that, to make sure that they can have the product be prepared in advance of coming to the port.
On this side, particularly with the refrigerated side, that's got to move. That's perishable product. Every day it sits is one less day it's viable.
Correct.
How quickly are you able to turn around the shipments of perishable products?
We can turn them around as soon as they're cleared from customs. So as long as customs has cleared them and agriculture has cleared them, they're released to the truckers to go out of here. And we want that real estate to be turned over.
We want to keep moving.
We want to keep it moving because the next shipment of goods is coming in that we need space for. So the ship might work on a Saturday and Sunday, and they can be coming getting them on Monday.
It's hard to truly understand and appreciate the scope and scale of a port operation until you're here. It's one thing to have your fishing boat out on the lake or to have your toy boat in the bathtub. To see the size of the vessels that come up this river and to this port, to see it all come together in stacks of containers, giant cranes. We're going to give you some very unique perspective on that shortly from above.
Hi, I'm Holly Shute, the executive chef for Georgia Grown, and we are featuring some Vidalia onions today. We're going to start off with a Vidalia onion fig crostini. So I've pre-toasted these French breads for about 5 minutes. I'm going to take that and just spread each one with a little bit of fig preserves. Then we're going to take some caramelized onions. These were cooked in a pan for about 20 minutes in a couple of tablespoons of butter. And then we're going to top that with a little bit of Swiss cheese. And if you don't like Swiss cheese, you can use any kind of cheese that you like. If you don't like fig preserves, again, you can use any kind of preserves that you like. Okay, these are ready to go in the oven, and they will bake about 5 minutes at 350 or just until the cheese is melted. Here we have our caramelized onion and fig crostini, which are great just to serve as an hors d'oeuvre when you have a party.
Vidalia onions, hand-planted, hand-picked by chefs.
Chad, there's a lot going on around here. I mean, it never stops, does it?
No, it's certainly a crazy place. A lot of action going on, but we love it every day.
And you know, we look around, we see all these stacks, and we understand we don't really, you and I standing here right now, we couldn't point at one of these trailers and say what's in it. You specialize more in the perishable, refrigerated side of what comes into and out of Port of Savannah.
As soon as you pick that citrus or pick the grapes, that clock starts ticking.
Now, we don't really know what's coming off of this vessel. I don't know. Do you know what's coming off of here?
Well, we have a pretty good idea. We know exactly what our number of picks would be. So that's the number of boxes we're actually loading onto the vessel
Right.
or discharging from the vessel. We know exactly how many containers we have on terminal on any given day. What we don't know is whose containers those actually belong to. One way to look at Garden City Terminal, right, is we're basically a warehouse for containers. That's really
Right.
the highest level and the easiest level to look at it. A perishable is going to move in a refrigerated container.
Okay.
And when I say a refrigerated container, that's essentially a container that's going to have a controlled atmosphere.
It's a big box refrigerator.
Exactly, you're exactly right. So there's a lot of different stakeholders involved,
Sure.
from the growers to the importers, to the steamship lines, to the brokers, to Customs and Border Protection, to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So there's a lot of moving pieces that have to operate cohesively so that product arrives on time, gets released quickly, and gets out to the market.
That temperature's got to be consistent.
Right.
It cannot go above a certain point or below a certain point, or that shipment's not going to be any good.
When you get the authorities like CBP and Ag involved, what they're looking for is to make sure that container maintained a certain temperature throughout its transit so it could kill any unwanted pests that may enter the environment
so
here.
freshness is certainly a reason to keep it cool, but the other reason to keep it cold is to prevent bugs we don't want from coming into the United States.
They also have other measures like fumigation to make sure those pests are dead and don't make it onto our shores.
Georgia is famous for Vidalia onions. It's a trademark of the state of Georgia.
Yes.
It is the state vegetable, but it can only be produced here 5 months out of the year.
Right.
So the Vidalia onion growers found a very good off-season counterpart in Peru. People weren't happy just having Vidalia onions 5 months out of the year. They needed a comparable onion in the off-season months, so that has to come from somewhere. That's going to add cost, that's going to add miles, that's going to potentially contribute to food waste. Shipping it by sea is the easy alternative.
Right, and I think if we move that all motor from South America through Central America, Mexico, and the U.S., that would make for a very expensive onion. So yeah, you know, we're working with the ocean carriers right now. We're trying to drive better services through the Port of Savannah. When I say better services, we're pushing for more direct services out of West Coast South America, which is essentially going to drive down that transit time and get that product to the market faster.
And so we're talking about economical advantages to shipping by sea, but there are also ecological advantages. Instead of a never-ending convoy of trucks coming out of South and Central America, you've got cargo vessels. It's a lot more efficient, it's a lot cheaper. You can almost give a big cargo vessel a good push out of the dock and point it where it's going and get it there, taking advantage of the way the sea moves and the way that you can ship by sea. How important a piece of business for Port of Savannah is agricultural import and export?
First of all, it's a very important piece of our business, right? But it's probably a very small percentage in terms of the overall volume we handle in Savannah. I don't have the exact numbers, Chips. It's probably in the 5 to 8% range, but what's not gonna change is people's buying habits when it comes to food.
So that 5 to 8% might not be the biggest part, but it's going to be the most consistent part day in and day out. The export component is just as important to agriculture as the import component.
I'm not saying it's 1-to-1, but for every import coming into Savannah, we generally have an export to marry up with that load. Paper, pulp, clay, pecans, cotton, you name it.
Just as I grew up watching my dad in the farm supply business and being a farmer and just being in all things agriculture, just 24/7, 365, immersed in it. And you grew up and you see that and it makes an impact on you. That was a big part of what encouraged me to come back home from college and stay in agriculture and just growing up in it. So our boys are growing up, they're in college, they've been in and around produce, vide onions, all their life. And I'm very optimistic and hopeful that it's made an impression on them. And as a second generation vide onion grower, packer, shipper, I'm hopeful that my two boys come back into the family business and become third generation.
Are you being audited? And do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
A federal jury unanimously found Monsanto's popular weed killer Roundup was a substantial factor in causing cancer. If you or someone you love used Roundup and were diagnosed with cancer, call the number on your screen now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
The Savannah River, really no river, is deep enough to accommodate this kind of traffic. That means at some point in time, they had to come through here and dredge the bottom. That means they're scooping out all that mud and muck on the bottom to make a deeper channel for the ships. Now this water is naturally carrying sediment, soil from other places, so that bottom continues to replenish itself. Maintenance projects, that's what these boats across the river, these barges are doing. Periodic maintenance, re-scooping up that muck from the bottom to keep this lane of traffic open. Now the larger ships that are at sea now and what Port of Savannah is preparing for are the mega carriers, which are, I believe, 16,000 TEUs.
Yeah, I'll put it this way for your viewers, okay? If this is an 8,000 TEU vessel,
Okay.
right? There are companies that are building or have built container vessels that are 3 times this size.
Oh my goodness.
Meaning there's vessels in operation right now that can accommodate 24,000 TEUs.
Can Port of Savannah accommodate those vessels yet?
Now, the largest ship we can service right now, Chip, is a 16,000 TEU vessel.
That's huge.
16,000. Anything above 16,000 TEUs is probably going to take out the Talmadge Bridge. But there's plans to make some adjustments to the bridge, probably raising it, right? Which other cities and other port authorities have done to accommodate the ultra-large container vessels, okay? Now with CB1 in the works, CB1 in the distance over here gets renovated, Ocean Terminal the distance, and perhaps Hutchinson Island and a new container port in the future, we are getting ready to handle the 18s and the 20s. So
now what people may not understand, they may sit here and go, our government's paying for all of this to help these businesses out, to bring these things in and out. The Georgia Port Authority operates under the auspices of the government, but it's not funded by the government.
that's correct. And we run this facility. We treat this facility as a private business, a free enterprise. All the money we make goes right back into the operation, less expenses.
$122 billion worth of goods a year enter the country through Port of Savannah. That's got to have a very dramatic impact on Georgia's economy.
Oh, it does. And for the state of Georgia and for the southeastern United States, it is a tremendous economic impact, the powerful economic engine for this area, and the number of jobs it creates, I think, is over 500,000 jobs in Georgia and the southeastern U.S. are touched by goods coming through the Port of Savannah. Just over 8% of Georgia's GDP flows in and through that Port of Savannah.
Wow. That's 8 out of every $100 that is Georgia revenue. 8 of those dollars come out of that port.
It does.
That's extraordinary, John.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology for just $297. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology, many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not 1, but 2 Nano hearing aids for just $297. Plus, we'll add a portable charging case and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get 2 CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $297 and free shipping.
800-705-3056. Again, that's 800-705-3056.
Don't ever say I don't get my hands dirty doing this job.
Chris Miracle.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say the first thing is, the miracle is that you got me up here. so that was job one, getting me up here, and that's the way you come to work every day.
Every day.
And you're about to operate the most important component of the Mason Mega Rail system. Now that's a system that Port of Savannah has put in to help move freight off of this port more efficiently, faster, and in bigger volume. Your job basically is those containers come in on the big ship, they're offloaded with the cranes there. The jockey trucks from the port, those are the little bitty cabs we keep seeing, come and park those in a berth here. You're putting these cars on these rail lines below, from here, once that train is loaded, it's on the way to wherever it's going.
Yes. We've got the computer right here that'll tell us.
Okay.
This will give us our box number.
Right.
Our location where it is down here below us, and what track and what car it's going on. And
So now what we're about to do is fire this bad boy up.
Yep.
And go pick one up.
Pick one up
and put it
on
in
there.
place.
All right.
I'm literally in your hands. Let's give this thing a ride.
All right. Let's see
how
what
this
we
goes.
can find here.
The train that you're loading up now, where's it going?
This one is going to Nashville.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
From Savannah.
Yes.
But you're loading up different vehicles
All day.
all day long to go anywhere.
Yeah. As TJ said earlier, I think 24 different cities. Or
24 different destinations
Destinations.
off of this. So how long does it take to learn to do something like this? Look at this unit coming up here with us. Wow. That was on the ground a second ago, Chris.
The training's about 4 weeks.
You can't fall asleep up here.
You're paying attention to what everything that's around you, your height, running the crane because you've got
Wow. And now look at it.
multiple
We can
different
actually
things.
see this dropping down on top.
There's a guy that'll come by on what we call a grunt that's down on the ground. Well, if I can get it on there.
I'm going to quit talking a second and let you do this.
They will lock these down. We work together because if they don't do their job, I can't do my job.
And that you could say that about every job on this port and every job from the first time that somebody planted something that was going to get harvested, that was going to go on a container, that was going to go on a ship to come to the United States, to Savannah, Georgia. Then we reverse the whole process. People have no idea how many hands are involved in keeping us
Yes.
fed. Do you have any idea how many times in a day you do this, Chris?
Too many. It's a lot. Yeah, we all have our normal shifts and our normal schedules.
And it all works out.
We work 6 to 6, and then there's a night shift that'll come in at 6 o'clock, and they'll continue on
You
until we
keep the
come back.
seat warm for them, and then they keep it warm till you get back the next day.
Exactly.
So now we're swinging out the other direction, coming back above this flatbed trailer. And one more delicate maneuver. Chris, I gotta say, this looks kind of fun.
It is fun. It is fun.
Were you that guy when you were a kid playing with the Tonka trucks and everything?
Oh, yes.
I gotta find a way to do this for a living. I can see if you didn't know what to expect and you were just a passenger here, some of this bumpiness could be a little disconcerting.
It takes you a little bit to get used to it, yes. Once you get used to the bouncing around, there's nothing to it.
How long you been up in this cab?
And this crane here, about 2 years.
2 years. How long have you been doing this job at this port?
About 16.
I'm not even going to ask if you ever dropped anything.
No, those are not good days.
Those are not good days. Do you ever have any idea what's in the box you're picking up?
No idea.
That's like the mystery box of all mystery boxes, isn't
That
it?
is.
I gotta say, I'm enjoying the ride. When is the last time you sat down to dinner and thought about a port? All right, maybe if you were having a shrimp fry or something and you knew that came from the water and off a boat. We got to keep in mind every piece of everything plays a vital role in our food supply chain. We saw that during the pandemic when we had, for the first time in most of our memories, empty shelves at the grocery store. That's because places like this port were unable to continue to conduct their business in a timely fashion. Other than that, they're out here running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to help keep you fed and to keep the economy flowing out here where the food comes from.
Hi everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. You know, we're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.